Well, good afternoon. I'm Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzalez, and before I begin, let me just say this is the first press conference that I have had since the election last month, and I want to thank the citizens of Bexar County for giving us an opportunity to continue with our administration. We're here because this is the day that the Eric Cantu family has been waiting on for some time. We are here to announce that a grand jury has reviewed the case involving the shooting of Eric Cantu by former Officer Brennan, and as a result of a grand jury presentation today, a grand jury in fact indicted Mr. Brennan for the shooting of that unarmed teenager that occurred October 22nd of 2022. Our office will now go forward with the prosecution in this case, including a possible trial if necessary in order to obtain a conviction against Mr. Brennan. Because this is an ongoing case, of course I'm limited in what I can tell you, but I will tell you that we're going to do everything possible to see that justice is done for Eric and the rest of his family. We know that most officers in this city care deeply about their community, but when an officer uses unnecessary and unjustified force, the trust that exists between our community and law enforcement is rattled. The video of the shooting has been seen across the country. I know that many of you have seen it. I certainly saw it, and it has affected us all deeply. The harm that occurs from an incident like this sends ripples throughout our community. And so it is imperative that we feel that we do something in order to continue with the trust that our community has in the criminal justice system. Because if that trust is not there, people do not then report crimes, people do not come forward to offer their services as witnesses, and they take situations in their own hands in order to resolve cases. I hope that by vigorously investigating and prosecuting this case, we can help to increase the faith in our system, even if we can never repair all the pain and suffering that Eric and his family have experienced. I want to commend members of the San Antonio Police Department. I want to commend the chief and the command staff for acting quickly in this case to terminate this former officer. I want to commend them for swiftly filing this case with us and now allowing us to proceed to today. We must now begin to bring justice to Eric Cantu. Since the beginning of my administration, I have said and I have been committed to the principle that no one is above the law. That includes members of law enforcement when they abuse their authority. This case will be handled by the Civil Rights Division, led by our Division Chief, Daryl Harris, that is flanked to my right. It is exactly for this reason that we have the Civil Rights Division, to be able to review this sort of conduct that can be committed by a member of law enforcement. We know that the large majority, as I said, of members of our law enforcement community care deeply about this community and about the citizens of San Antonio and Bexar County. But when their conduct rises to the level of a crime, we will review that, make decisions, and certainly prosecute those individuals that are responsible. Again, I want to express my sincere regret and sympathy to Eric. I'm happy to hear that he is recovering. I am happy to hear that he's out of the hospital. I hope that one day he will fully recover. That he will fully recover. In the meantime, I commit to him and his family and this entire community that we are going to do everything to bring justice to Eric Cantu. At this time, I welcome any questions that you all may have.
You say you want justice for Eric Cantu. What exactly do you mean by getting him justice?
Well, what that means is we are going to go forward now that we have an indictment, now that the grand jury has returned several counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, which is, by the way, a first-degree offense. The range of punishment is from 5 to 99 years or life. There is an additional count of attempted murder, and that is a second-degree offense. The range of punishment there is from 2 to 20 years. Justice means prosecuting that individual for this conduct. Justice means obtaining a conviction. Justice means making sure that man never works as a member of law enforcement, making sure that that man never has a gun and a badge. Justice means seeking appropriate punishment. He certainly has a right to trial. He has a right to his day in court, and the justice system will see that he gets that day in court. But we're going to do everything we can to make sure that the punishment is appropriate.
Can you list all the charges that Brennan is facing?
He has several charges that have been returned by a grand jury. There are 3 different counts. Count 1 is an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon by a public servant, causing serious bodily injury to Eric Cantu by shooting the complainant with that deadly weapon. So that's paragraph A of count 1. There is a paragraph B of count 1 that again is alleging aggravated assault with a deadly weapon by a public servant by threatening imminent bodily injury to Eric Cantu, again by shooting at and in the direction of Eric. There is a count 2 that is a separate aggravated assault with a deadly weapon by a public servant, again the former officer, in this case Mr. Brennan. The victim here, or the complainant, is Emily, how do you pronounce her last name? Prue, spelled P-R-O-U-L-X, but pronounced Prue. And then, of course, the last count, as I mentioned, is an attempted murder count, identifying the complainant, in this case, as Eric Cantu, where basically it's alleging that he intentionally and knowingly attempted to cause the death of Eric Cantu by shooting the complainant with a deadly weapon that failed in the commission of the offense intended, which is murder. So those are the separate counts listed in the indictment.
So 3 aggravated assaults by public servant?
Correct.
And so why is there
No. There's 2 different aggravated assaults. One identifying Eric Cantu as a complainant, but there are 2 different paragraphs within that count. And then the other aggravated assault lists Emily as the complainant. So we have 2 aggravated assaults with a deadly weapon, and then 1 attempted murder with Eric being the complainant.
Will you be seeking the maximum penalty?
We certainly are going to be seeking what we believe to be an appropriate punishment, and right now, to me, the maximum punishment appears to be appropriate. Anybody else?
What's the next steps in this case?
The next step is to let the court process take shape. It will be set in court, and again, Mr. Brennan has the right to set this for trial. There will be several settings where his defense team has an opportunity and a right to review the discovery. We will provide the discovery to his defense team. They will make the decisions whether to go to trial or attempt to resolve this with some sort of plea bargain. But that process will take several months, so I don't anticipate finalizing this case until sometime next year. But again, he's got every right to his day in court, and I'm sure the court system will ensure that he gets every opportunity to ensure his constitutional rights in this case.
Are you interested in a plea deal?
Well, it's too early to tell. It's too early to tell how we should resolve this, but I will tell you that we're not going to do anything without the input of your young Eric. We certainly want to visit with him, and we will take into consideration his wishes as well as that of his family. But we certainly, everything is on the table, and at this point we just want to hope that young Eric continues to heal, and we will go from there.
Fiscal, ¿nos puede dar un resumen en español?
Más o menos este caso se trata de que hemos presentado este caso ante un gran jurado y ellos han decidido archivar este caso en contra de esta persona por haber balaceado a la víctima, y vamos a proceder en contra de esta persona, y él tiene derecho de citar este caso para juicio, y vamos a ver cómo vamos a resolver este caso. Pero para hoy lo que hemos hecho es empezar el procedimiento para castigar a esta persona por este acto.
Y añadieron este nuevo cargo de intento de asesinato. ¿Me puede hablar de eso?
Pues este es uno de los cargos que aceptó y decidió el gran jurado, y ese es el atento de asesinato en contra de esta persona.
¿Qué mensaje tiene para la familia de Eric si lo estuviera viendo en este momento?
Vamos a hacer todo posible para traerle a Eric y a la familia toda la justicia posible. Y eso obviamente se va a durar un tiempo para llegar a ese punto, pero vamos a hacer todo posible para traerle a él la justicia.
¿Cuándo empezaría todo este proceso?
Pues inmediatamente, como ya hemos archivado este caso, vamos a seguir adelante. Se va a citar para una cita en la corte, y vamos a empezar ese proceso que se va a durar ciertos meses, y como he dicho, puede ser que vamos a tener que ir a juicio ante un jurado para llegar a un punto final en este caso.
So you're saying the next step is figuring out a court date, and that itself could take months.
Correct. Right. Well, I mean, we're going to have a setting sometime very soon, but what may take months is to actually go to trial. But I would imagine that we'll be seeing a setting in the next several weeks.
Have you spoken to Eric Cantu's family about the charges, and if so, what have they said?
We have met with them, and I know that the chief has been in constant communication with the family of Eric, and I'd like for him to step forward and maybe give us some idea of the kind of interaction that you've had with him. Daryl, you want to step forward?
Good afternoon, all. We did meet with Mr. Cantu, the younger's parents, probably the tail end of October initially. I've had constant contact with their representatives about status of our investigation to date and how it's progressed. Have not had the opportunity to talk with Eric himself yet. That'll be the next phase now that he is home and on recovery. But they are aware of what we were doing today. They're aware of the results. So far, so good.
How confident do you feel moving forward with the indictment?
Nobody who does this for a living goes about predicting outcomes. But I would say this, that over the time I've been in this office, if we get to this point, we're confident and comfortable with our evidence to date, and we're confident in our ability to pursue that evidence to whatever end it takes, be it resolution by agreement or through a trial. We will just take it the next step, one step at a time. Anyone?
While we have you up there, do you mind giving your first and last name and spelling for us?
Daryl Harris, Daryl Harris, Harris.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, and I know this has been a long time coming, and I know that you all have been very patient and waiting for this day, but I want to thank you all for coming out and receiving our announcement. Have a good day.